The New York Knicks have been named favorites to land Donovan Mitchell, and we have to talk about it. So, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. My name is Chris, and we are going to jump right into the video today, as we always do, because the New York Knicks have been named favorites to land Donovan Mitchell right here on bookies.com and other sportsbooks around the world. So, let's just break this down very quickly. At plus 250, which is a 28.6% chance, the New York Knicks are the favorites for Donovan Mitchell's next team. Trailing right behind him at 26.7% and plus 275 odds are the Brooklyn Nets. Then the Miami Heat at plus 425, aka 19.1%. Then the Pelicans at plus 450 and the Houston Rockets at plus 850 with the field at plus 500. So, guys, definitely some names that we've seen there before. Very specifically, the Brooklyn Nets, the Miami Heat, and the New York Knicks on top. It is interesting to see the Pelicans in there. I feel like that was kind of a wild card team. Never really heard any Donovan Mitchell Pelicans rumors. I don't exactly know what they would trade. I think it would be pretty hard for them to keep their core of Zion, Brandon Ingram, and Herb Jones. And CJ McCollum, maybe they'd trade him, but he's also older. I don't see why the Cavs would be that interested in acquiring him in some Donovan trade. But also teams like the Rockets, it's maybe you trade some of their young players and all the picks they got from Brooklyn when they absolutely just massacred them in that James Harden trade. And then you're looking towards the top. You're looking at the Miami Heat. You're looking at the Brooklyn Nets. You're looking at the New York Knicks. The Heat, it's kind of a situation where it feels like they don't have the assets outside of Tyler Hero to get it done. They only have so many available picks. The young players, I mean, they're not giving Jaime Jaquez Jr. They're just not going to trade him. They'd be very stubborn on that. You'd see Nikola Jovic get traded. You would see, like, every available first-round pick they have and Tyler Hero. I think both the Knicks and the Nets could give better offers. The Nets do have a lot of unprotected picks when they did the Durant trade, and they could use some of those. But they're young players. I mean, it's not too exciting. Like, I think Cavs fans, if they saw that Donovan Mitchell was getting traded to the Nets, they would instantly want Mikal Bridges back. And even so, I think many people, including myself, would say that Donovan Mitchell is a better player than Mikal Bridges. So I don't really see what the Nets would give exactly. Like, maybe Ben Simmons' contract and you give a ton of assets for taking that on. Or maybe you give Spencer Dinwiddie's deal and Cam Johnson and you attach picks to it there. That's not the worst trade in the world. But I really do think the reason the Knicks are the favorites is because, one, they're the Knicks, and two, it's also just the fact that when you're looking at the Knicks, yeah, they don't have the value in unprotected picks that the Nets have. Though the Knicks do have a multitude of unprotected picks. The Knicks have 8 first-round picks that they could trade. They have 13 second-round picks that they could trade. They have a ton of draft picks. They have guys like Emmanuel Quickley, like Quentin Grimes, who are pretty much better young players than anything the Nets have. Sure, the Nets have Cam Thomas, but, you know, that's sort of... It feels like one of the reasons why Cam Thomas is balling out is because of the opportunity more than anything else. As good as he clearly is on offense, he's one of the worst defenders in the NBA. He's completely a ball hog, and it's one of those things where it's like, you really want that to be the best player you're getting back in return for Donovan Mitchell? It really falls to what would the Knicks realistically give up for Donovan. And Shams is sort of in agreement that the Knicks are going to be active in a way that maybe other teams might not be. What he said on the Run It Back FanDuel TV show is that I could see the Knicks being active for sure in the trade market. They could definitely monitor every star that could be available. Could that be Donovan Mitchell? It feels like he's the only star who really is available. It doesn't really feel like you got too many other options at this point, star-wise. I mean, Zach LaVine, who the Knicks, we've already seen that the Knicks don't have interest in him. We've talked about it on this channel. And outside of that, there's really no one. And yeah, usually a star will request a trade once a year or so, maybe a little over a year. But, like, who would it be? It doesn't show signs that it would be anyone. There's really no player in the NBA who it would be shocking or very, like, unsurprising to see them ask for a trade outside of Donovan Mitchell. Like, he's the only one. I don't see really anyone in the Eastern Conference. The 76ers are too good for Embiid to be upset. In the Western Conference, I think the closest you could even come is someone like Luka, but the Mavs are doing well. they had a good offseason, and now Luka wants to stay there, and he's always wanted to stay there. It's just a matter of if they can succeed or not. And they've been able to succeed enough to the point where, yeah, they'll be cool with it, or he'll be cool with it. And then if you look here, what Brian Windhorst had to say, who, made his bones as a Cavaliers beat writer, as they say here. He's a good friend of LeBron James. He said on his Hoop Collective podcast that if Cleveland makes a Donovan Mitchell trade, it could lead to a bidding war between the Nets and the Knicks. But ESPN's basketball writer does not believe the Cavs front office has made the decision and may very well not be feeling pressure despite their team's record and devastating injury news. I would say the Knicks and the Nets are riding the line, added Windhorst, in a lively discussion that included ESPN colleagues Tim Bontemps and Tim McMahon. Those two teams where I think Donovan would have a chance at re-signing if they got into a bidding war. I think that could be interesting. I mean, it's one of those situations where, yeah, I think we're going to see a bidding war for Donovan Mitchell. I think there's going to be a few teams that are going for him. I think the Knicks will certainly go for him. I think the Nets will go for him because they're kind of in limbo right now. I think the Heat will go for him because they clearly need more offense. And as they put, the Pelicans and the Rockets are on that list. I think other teams are just going to check in. Maybe a team like the Toronto Raptors, which has assets to give, and they need a point guard. And sure, Donovan Mitchell's more of a combo guard, closer to a shooting guard. But, I mean, Donovan Mitchell and Scotty Barnes isn't the worst look in the world, especially if you still have Pascal Siakam. Like, there's other teams that realistically believe that they can contend if they were to land Donovan Mitchell. And it's not just the Knicks and the Nets, but I think the Knicks and the Nets will have the most interest because, yeah, Donovan's more likely to re-sign with the Knicks or the Nets because he's a native New Yorker. And that's one of those situations where it feels pretty clear that Donovan wants to be close to home. It feels like, at least in some regard, he is a homebody, and he grew up a Knicks fan. His dad worked for the New York Mets, or still does work for the New York Mets. He has his roots in New York. We all know this. We've talked about this before. I think if he were to get traded to the Knicks, I don't know if he would ever leave the team unless he was like really old and the Knicks were to never win a championship and he just wants to try to ride out and win a championship somewhere as like a vet minimum guy when he's like 36, 37. And that's in 10 years from now. So you never know what can happen. It's a really weird situation right now because it feels like the market is pretty undecided. It's not really sure what Donovan would cost, but the Cavs do want a lot for him. And if you look right here, the list of potential teams that could emerge as suitors for Mitchell could be growing by the day, but one thing that seems to pick up steam each conversation is that Mitchell will leave Cleveland. And on the same podcast, Tim Bontemps reiterated that he does not believe the guard will re-sign with the Cavs. So that's another thing that kind of determines his value, is teams are not going to give up as much if they know they can have like a real chance at Donovan Mitchell in free agency. There seems like there's one thing that we know. Wherever Donovan Mitchell is going to play after 2025, there is one team, well actually two, kind of the Utah Jazz, that Donovan will not be playing for, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. It feels very unlikely that Donovan Mitchell is going to re-sign. He probably would have done it already if he was going to. Sure, he'd make more money, but he could also just pull off a sign and trade, get his bread anyway, and go to a city where he actually wants to be, and go to a team where he actually wants to be. And that would not be surprising. I mean, one of the things is Donovan Mitchell does not want to carry a team. He's talked about this a ton. And with the Cavs right now, with their injuries, with the fact that they have not developed in the way that people thought they would, that's concerning for Donovan. He doesn't want to have to be the guy who's just completely carrying the load. And that's what the Knicks made that's what the Knicks made the Cavs do last playoffs, is they said, if we're going to lose, we're going to lose because Donovan Mitchell is scoring 45 points every night. They made Darius Garland score in the ISO, and he could not do it. They made Evan Mobley take the ball. They made Isaac Okoro shoot threes. They basically said, we're going to make Donovan work for every basket that he's going to get. And if he can just make us work, if he can get past Quentin Grimes and Quickly's defense and just drop 45 every game. Meanwhile, Quickly and Grimes were constantly shoveling Donovan right into Mitchell Robinson. If he can get past all that defense and score 45 points a night and they beat us, it is what it is. Donovan Mitchell is just that good. He could not do that, and realistically, very few people in the NBA would have been able to. The Knicks played that series perfectly. Tibbs out, coach J.B. Bickerstaff. It's one of those things where Donovan was looking at that series and like, damn, I almost went to the Knicks. I almost got traded to this team, and now I'm losing to them in 5 games. I wanted to go here anyway. Because that's the thing, like, if you're a Knicks fan, if you're a Cavs fan, if you're an NBA fan that has no skin in this issue, if you think about Donovan Mitchell, a New Yorker who's seen the New York Knicks succeed more recently, who lost to the Knicks in the playoffs in 5 games because he had to carry the load completely and kind of struggled to do so. Where do you think he would rather play? The New York Knicks or the Cleveland Cavaliers? It seems pretty simple. Like, at the end of the day, if you're a New Yorker, if you're from New York, you'd also just rather live in New York than you would in Ohio. And that's no shade towards Ohio. That's just what it is. I am from New York. I live in Manhattan. If I was told, hey, if Ben called me, Ben from Raptors Digest called me, he's like, yo, we're starting Cavs Digest and you need to move to Ohio, I'd be like, no, dude, absolutely not, man. So just basically, it's a rough situation. And the Cavs want so much for Donovan Mitchell. They want the whole package of what they got back. They want the equivalent, which was Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, Colin Sexton, 3 unprotected first-round picks, 2 pick swaps, and you're not getting that because people know that Donovan wants to leave in less than 2 years. So realistically, if I'm the Knicks and you want to go for him, you're probably seeing an offer of like probably quickly to give you a guard back or Grimes, one of the two. Maybe RJ, maybe Fournier's contract, and then you'll get more subsequent picks because you're taking Fournier instead of RJ Barrett. And then you're going to get probably 2 unprotected firsts, at most 2 pick swaps. I don't think the Knicks are going to give up that much for Donovan because they're definitely confident that they can land Donovan Mitchell in free agency in 2025. I think if in the Knicks' mind, if it comes down to, all right, let's do this in free agency, let's go to war with the Nets in free agency. Sure, last time that did not work, but the Knicks also had a 17-65 roster that was starting Kadeem Allen, Damian Dotson, Kevin Knox, Marcus Morris for half the season. I don't even remember who started at power forward after that. And then Mitchell Robinson, who was very, very young, and at points Taj Gibson started. So obviously, and the Nets were a playoff team. So obviously the Nets had the advantage there. Now they don't. The Knicks are the better team. The Knicks are the more marketable team. The Knicks are Donovan Mitchell's favorite team as a kid. The Knicks definitely believe that if Donovan Mitchell were to become a free agent, that they would be the clear favorites and that they would be able to pull this off, whether it's a sign and trade, whether they're moving cap around to do it. Brock Aller's got it. He's a cap wizard, and it feels very likely that the New York Knicks are favorites for a good reason because they probably are going to end up with Donovan Mitchell, if you ask me. Given I'm a Knicks fan, I'm biased, so who knows? Comment down below if you think that the Knicks are going to land Donovan Mitchell. Do you want them to? We've seen this in the comments a lot. We've seen very varying opinions. Do you guys want Donovan Mitchell? But mainly, do you guys think the Knicks are actually going to get him? Is this real? Are the Knicks finally going to get one of those stars, one of those big-name stars? Obviously, they have Brunson and Randall now who are both all-stars. But, like, will they get a big-name star? Will they land one in free agency finally? Comment down below. Let me know. Make sure to like this video. Subscribe to the channel. It means a ton to us. Do it for the holiday season, guys. Nick Santa had it and everything. I'm feeling festive for you guys. But have a great day, guys. Go Knicks.